All right, welcome back to the Kelly Roach Show. Today we are going to walk through exactly what we did for 3 of my companies to net year-over-year growth of over 250% in the first quarter of this year. Now, that is no small feat when you have companies that are in early stages with limited resources that are really building from the ground up. And all 3 of these businesses really kind of came together and broke out within, the span of, I'll say, like 6 to 12 months of one another, I guess you could say. And, they are very, very different in their purpose, in their offers, in how they serve people. But there is core elements that they do exactly the same that have been a big reason for our ability to drive this growth. And I was actually shocked because I did not even realize what the numbers were until I did my Q1 review with my finance team and really went through all of the companies and looked at their year-over-year growth finishing the first quarter. So this is just a reminder to everyone that no matter what the economy is doing, there is always an opportunity for growth. And for me, it's very, very interesting. And I've recorded episodes on this before, but now having 6 different entities, I have this bird's eye view into different leadership styles and into different levels of execution. And then I get to see what the outcomes of that look like. And I'm not at all surprised that these 3 companies were our top performers in the first quarter of this year, because knowing what I know about the way that execution looks and exactly what they're focused on, it doesn't matter what the product, service, price point, or market is. What matters is the leadership, the execution of the team, and the intensity of the daily focus. So I just want to remind you, it's not about picking the right niche, the right price point, or the right product so much as it is about, of course, those things need to be viable, as we always discuss. But once you have viability, then you need to move into execution on a daily basis. So here's the reminder for you. I've said it once and I'll say it again. We operate in incredibly fragmented markets. Incredibly fragmented markets. This means most of us have less than 1% market share. And that means that even if our markets are contracting, even if there are many big players in our markets, that there is still so much room for growth because the market is so fragmented and it's not truly dominated by any of us. We all are a player in a very fractured market that has massive amounts of opportunity. And that's a really good thing because that means there's enormous upside for all of us, regardless of what the economy is doing. But here's the thing that I will also say. Growth does not happen by chance. It happens by design. Okay. And you have to learn to operate your business based on process and that are executed by people. So you install processes and you make sure those processes are executed by people. Freedom in your business is going to come from being systematic in everything that you do. So as a leader, the more emotional control that you develop, the more that you are able to stick to a cadence and a set metrics and consistency with employee one-on-ones and with the daily sales plan and all of those things, the easier it's going to become to drive growth. The more haphazard you are and the more inconsistent you are, the harder it makes it for your team to be consistent in their execution because they're waking up every single day and they're kind of saying, like, now what? What's the focus for today? Instead of waking up and already knowing because it is consistent, because there is a cadence and because you stick to it. Okay. So what I want to remind you of is that freedom is going to come through structure and that businesses that grow consistently tend to be very systematic in both their processes and how their processes are then executed by their people. Okay, I want you to keep both of those things in mind. And it's going to be your level of discipline in the execution of process that's going to determine your growth rate in this market. Simple. right? Too many of you are very distracted still chasing AI. Many of you are still looking for shortcuts. You're continuously changing your strategy because you're struggling with one strategy. So you say, well, maybe this strategy will work instead. And it's not allowing you to develop any level of mastery. And some of you are just constantly chasing the latest, greatest thing that you see out there because you're hoping this is going to be the thing. And I just want to remind everyone, in business, there is no silver bullet. No one is your savior. No strategy is your savior. And for a lot of you, what you need to do is just simplify. It's just simplify down to what actually matters, what's actually going to move the needle for growth, and then take massive action on these very simple and specific things on a consistent daily basis. And it is really wild to think that so many entrepreneurs will allow themselves to work 60 or even 80 hours a week in their businesses with almost none of that time dedicated to true profit-producing activities, which means they keep working more and harder and longer hours, but it's not actually productive. And therefore, they're just burning themselves into the ground. There's no structure. There's no cadence, right? So if you run a service-based business, now's the point in the episode where you want to take a lot of notes, okay? If you run a service-based business, there are a set number of activities that are going to make or break the business, and they fall under 3 core categories. So first, let's talk about the 3 core categories. The first category is sales. The second category is retention. And the third category is renewals. Okay. Now, the underlying one underneath that is billing completion. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So that gets like a half a mark, right? But it's really, really important. Okay. But these things essentially run your business: the sales in, your retention rate, your renewal rate, and your billing completion. Okay. And if you as a leader are distracted, constantly working on, I'm going to learn AI, I'm going to do this workshop, I'm going to consume this concept, I'm going to try this strategy. No, I'm going to try this strategy. I'm going to write this new book. No, I'm going to, create this new thing. I'm going to put on this other workshop. I'm going to do this. If you're constantly doing new and different things, and you are constantly chasing tactical things that you're going to execute, but you're not looking at these 4 things in your business every single day, and then making sure that the entire business plan connects to this, then the business is not going to grow consistently. It might grow on a whim. It might grow because something just so happens to work out or something goes your way for a period of time, but it won't be able to be sustained. And what we want is sustainable sales in a freedom-based business with autonomous teams. Yes, that's what you want, and that's what you deserve. You want to have sustainable growth in a freedom-based business with autonomous teams. Okay. So how do you do that? Well, let's go to step number 1, which is sales. Now, there are 4 core categories that you want to be driving sales in your business each day. And number 1 is prospects. So lead management, relationship building, and conversion events. That could be a consultation, that could be a webinar, that could be a launch, whatever the case. Number 2 is referrals, right? Warmest, most ready to buy. They spend the longest, they spend the most, they refer the most, they're the best customers usually. So referrals is the second one. Third one is reactivations. So making sure that every week you are bringing people back into your business to buy again that bought from you in the past. And then upsells or add-ons. So this is your internal buyers list. Okay. So these are your core 4 as far as what you want to make sure that there is dedicated and designated activities around every single day in the business. Okay. So when you make sure that you don't have a one-dimensional plan, which is just acquiring new prospects, your business is going to be a lot more profitable because your cost of acquisition will be much lower. And your team is going to have a lot easier time selling because they're selling to people that already know, like, and trust you, which is going to build their confidence, which is then going to make them much more likely to sell more prospects into the business and to make a bigger impact because they feel confident. They believe in what they're doing and they're having success and results. So the first core thing that you want to do as a leader is make sure that there is a structure and a cadence where there's specific activity happening in each of these 4 categories each day: prospect sales, referrals, reactivations, and upsells. So you should have designated lists in your CRM. You should have coverage reports, and you should have specific owners, people in the business, team members that own each of these lists that are making sure that each list is being worked and covered and that each of the leads on that list are being prospected each month, okay? The second key thing is your retention rate. And your retention rate is your completion rate through the contracted cycle. So when you think about this is people, if you have a year program, it's people making it to a year. If you have a 6-month program, it's making it to 6 months. If you have a 3-pay program for 90 days, it's making it all the way through the 3-pay, okay? This is crucial. This is also considered like your churn rate, right? A lot of businesses do not even look at this. They don't look at their churn rate. They don't look at their turnover. They don't look at the fact that the reason why they have to sell so much constantly is because they're losing people on the back end. So really making sure that you're designing SOPs and a systematic process that you're doing to drive results in your program, to recast vision with your clients, and to re-engage people all throughout the process to get them through the full completion rate is going to be crucial. Okay, so the second core thing that you want to make sure that you have systems, standard operating procedures in place for, and that you have ownership, meaning someone actually owns driving results in that area, is in the retention rate. Many businesses don't realize that their entire sales process and efforts are being cannibalized by their retention. Their churn of customers is causing them to constantly have to bring in new customers. But again, those new customers are not driving growth. They're just covering for losses on the back end. Number 3, your renewal rate. Again, I am shocked every single day speaking to business owners that do not have an SOP. They do not have a system that a human manages where they speak with each customer about a customized solution that they offer to them to take next steps every time they complete one of their packages or programs. The enormous amount of money that you are leaving on the table by not having SOPs that someone owns, that someone is managing each week around your renewals, it's mind-boggling. And it puts so much pressure on you, and it puts so much pressure on the sales team because you are literally having to sell so much just to cover the non-renewals that it makes it almost impossible to grow. So this is why when I talk about hiring, I always say you hire front of the house and back of the house. When I'm building a new business, I'm trying to get someone front of the house and back of the house as quickly as possible. Why? Because I know while the front end is so important to get new customers in the door, the back end is actually going to determine growth rate because how much you're losing on the back side is what's going to determine how much you need on the front side in order to grow. And for a lot of small businesses, they're losing so much from number 2, which is retention, and number 3, which is renewal, that the numbers are just astronomical on number 1. And for most small businesses, they're only focused on prospect sales. They're not managing a list on a daily basis for referrals, for reactivations, and for upsells and add-ons. And therefore, what happens is the teams burn out, they're burnout, everyone's overwhelmed, everyone's exhausted all the time because there's just not good structure built into the business to allow that sales number to be sustainable. Don't judge yourself or criticize yourself if this is a problem in your business right now. It's a problem in all of our businesses. It's a problem in all of our businesses all the time. What matters is what degree of effort are you making to solve the problems so that you can not just put a Band-Aid over something, but create long-term solutions that will actually drive the business forward. Okay? So again, you want to think about the front of the house and the back of the house. Who is responsible for driving prospect sales? Who's responsible for referrals, reactivations, and upsells and add-ons? And those can be completely different people, or they can be one and the same, depending on the size of your team, depending on the structure of your team. On the back end, retention and renewal rates. Do you have a baseline? Do you know what your completions are? Do you know what your turnover is? Do you know what your renewal rate is? A lot of businesses don't. Start by getting a baseline. Keep an ins and outs report. I look at an ins and outs report every single day. So that's what's come in and what's gone out. Really simple, right? And the days where what came in was more than what went out is a good day. And the days where what went out is more than what came in, that's a bad day, right? And so start looking at it every day. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own business. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second. We're talking about a lot here today, but I want to help you put a daily profit push system in place for your business. Now, inside my companies that achieved over 250% year-over-year growth in the first quarter, we do a daily profit push, and we do activities under each of these categories: the sales, prospects, renewals, referrals, retention, upsells, add-ons. We're not looking at sales in a one-dimensional way. We have all these different mechanisms that we're using to get to our financial goals. And we're just making it really, really simple, like third grade level simple. I think Madison could learn the process. So if Madison can learn it, you can too. Okay. So I want you to come to the Profit Push Bootcamp. I want to make sure both you and your team are there. And I want you to come and spend 3 hours, 12 to 1 on each of these days with myself and Danielle. And we are going to literally break down for you what our daily profit push looks like. What is the structure? What is the flow? How do we engage the team? How do we set ourselves up for success? How do we make sure that we hit our goals? How do we communicate about our goals? And then what is the actual process? I can tell you right now, the reason why these businesses were able to achieve this is that this daily profit push happens live on Zoom every single day, Monday through Friday, all year long. It is cadence. It is consistency. It is tenacity. There is a direction to the business, and we create ownership on the teams. We create ownership. So it's not about a manager managing or micromanaging someone to do these activities. It's about creating ownership and really empowering people to be able to put themselves in a space of winning, having success, and opening up their income earning potential. So if you are interested in a more autonomous team, if you are interested in more sales in your business, if you are interested in learning how to structure this 1 hour a day with your team or for your leaders or whatever that might look like, you want to put a daily sales system in place in your business, you can't miss the Profit Push Bootcamp. Scroll down below this episode, click the link to register, or go to thekellyroach.com/profit. Okay, so we talked about sales, and we talked about the fact that this is not a one-dimensional process. One of the biggest things that'll get you in trouble is if you have a one-dimensional sales process and you're not having someone on a daily basis work these other lists. It's very, very expensive, especially in today's market. It's very expensive to acquire new prospects. And so if that's the only strategy you're relying on, you're typically spending way more money than what your business can really afford in order to grow. We talked about referrals, reactivations, and upsells, and just making sure that all 4 of those things are a balanced part of the way that you're managing the growth process in the business each day. Retention rate, again, a lot of businesses don't even have a baseline for this, nor do they have an SOP or any type of system to manage it, to track it, and to see where the opportunities to garner additional profits in the business are. Same thing goes for a renewal rate. So you start from where you are with what you've got. You get a baseline in place. You meet with your team. You get an SOP, and you create ownership so that someone can drive these things. Now, this leads me to number 4, which is billing completion. If billing completion is left untouched in your business, you will lose a ton of revenue. There are card declines that happen every single day. There are billing issues that come up constantly. There are people's cards expire, people's cards decline, people need to change their card. You have to make sure that there is an SOP for managing this in your business and for collecting missed funds throughout the month so that it doesn't significantly reduce your revenue for the month. Okay, so what you want to make sure is, again, that you have an SOP for what happens when a decline happens. How do you follow up on it? When do you follow up on it? How often do you follow up on it? And what are kind of some templates, word tracks that you're going to give the person who is going to manage this for you to use to help to put those dollars back in the bank again? Remember that phrase, a penny saved is a penny earned, right? And, with tax today, maybe not so much, but the truth of the matter is when it comes to growing your business, if you're not focused equally on the front end and the back end, it's almost impossible to grow sales in a sustainable way. Okay. So remember, these 4 things are the lifeline of your business. And I say these 4 things because retention rates and renewal rates are going to require you to deliver a superior product. They're going to require you to constantly be focused on continuous improvement of how you help your customers to get results. So I don't want you to think I'm forgetting that customers are the heartbeat of our business, but I know that you're not going to complete billing, drive renewals, drive retention, or get referrals if you're not constantly focused on the customer experience. And you'll see this very, very quickly. But these 4 things run your business. And for most business owners, they have their time diluted and stretched and spent in all different directions in all different ways, most of which have nothing to do with these things that I just listed. And then it leaves business owners burnt out and frustrated and exhausted, working so hard, feeling like they're on a hamster wheel, but without actually getting the freedom that comes with the business. So remember, we want to build sustainable businesses that achieve freedom with autonomous teams that run them. And the way that you start this is first making what is important the centerpiece of your attention and focus each day. Establishing a baseline, creating an SOP, and then creating ownership within your business to manage and run it. Okay. Now, I want to help you to have visibility into these things. I want to help you to understand what we do in our businesses to create profits and to create consistent sales outside of launch across all of these categories that we just talked about, and how I empower my teams to do this autonomously without me. So if you are ready to break the feast or famine cycle in your business, you want to know how we're creating rapid growth sustainably, even in the market of today, make sure you don't miss the Profit Push Bootcamp. It is coming up very, very soon. I want to see you there, 12 p.m. Eastern, May 22nd to 24th. And again, this is all about you. And it's about not just coming and hearing strategy or, going over concepts. It's really about us showing you the nitty gritty of what this looks like in real time. You're going to walk away with tangible things that you are going to use to implement in your business right away. Can't wait to see you there.